Hi guys, Killer main and Survivor main and also somehow Fence Sitting main all at the same time. Scott Jund here. Today I want to go over the debate people are having about Vecna's overall strength and how people are saying that he's very, very overpowered and this already, calls to nerf him and all that stuff. And I don't think this is like a Crossu situation. I'm actually kind of defending the design in the PTB more than a lot of people that I usually talk to about this kind of stuff. So I feel like I'm a bit of an outlier this time. And I just want to go over and explain why I think the version that we have in the PTB is mostly okay. There's like a tiny little couple of things I would tweak, but it's mostly completely fine. So the main thing that people are talking about and complaining about is his cooldown. His cooldown for his power is very short. It's like 3 seconds or something. It is a notably very, very short cooldown, shorter than most offensive powers in the entire game. Now, just on surface value, it can seem very, very overpowered when it is that strong. Now, obviously, there's a lot of other things that go into it. This is not like a Nurse's Blink, where it's safe because there's multiple charges. Even the iridescent add-on that does give you 2 charges shrinks the AoE even more, so it's not really the same thing. A lot of people are comparing him to Nurse in terms of counterplay, and it's kind of true that in terms of counterplay, the strategies that you would use are kind of similar to Nurse. You kind of want to get out of line of sight and then make a decision to hug the corner or leave the loop or go somewhere else. So here's where Nurse beats this killer every time in that scenario. When there's a corner, the Nurse blinks at the corner and then just looks around. If you doubled back, that means you'd be right on top of the Nurse and she would just hit you. If you decided to keep running, the Nurse would blink her first time, see that you continue to run, and then her second blink corrects and hits you. That's why Nurse is the best killer in the game for the most part. She can basically eliminate your possibility of mind gaming by using the first charge to go to the last place she saw you and then use the second charge of the blink to make up for that and then actually hit you. With this killer, you just have the one hit, and if you are wrong, they gain distance. So already people comparing it to Nurse saying it's like the same thing. It's not. Also, Nurse can immediately damage you at the start of the game. This killer has to hit you 3 times before you take damage at the start of the game, so his start is significantly slower. He's just not as good as the Nurse. Can we just get that to our fucking heads? He is not as good as a Nurse in like any way. So the cooldown being that quick, I think is intentional. To me, I enjoyed it. I actually enjoyed getting chased by Vecna. I was going to attach a really fun game I had against like a 7,000 hour Vecna yesterday, but my Twitch highlights were full, so I had to delete a video in order to make room for the highlight, and then I deleted the fucking VOD I was trying to highlight because I'm stupid. But I had a really fun game against a very, very high hour player that kind of shit on my entire team, but I was still having fun. And I was still able to run the killer for a while because I had overcome, and he has basically no answer to that other than running exhaustion perks or that add-on and then using the upside down traversal to maybe get exhaustion on it. But for the most part, even when I was in range for the chase, I was still having fun. And again, yeah, I know that he can use his power every 3 seconds. It's very, very fast. But here's the key factor why I don't mind that. Compare it to a Trickster Knives. Trickster Knives can, be thrown 10 times a second. So there's so many projectiles being thrown that you're not really making any conscious decisions. You're just always trying to just hold forward and make distance from the killer while shimmying a bit to not get hit by the knives. That's kind of just what you're doing. With this killer, there's still one dedicated projectile. Now, it comes at a much faster rate than a lot of other killers, but it's still a dedicated projectile attack that has a clear tell when it's going to be fired. You can absolutely you can hear a very clear shing, like he's about to actually make it pop out of the ground. Now, to be fair, that only happens when he readies it. It doesn't mean he's going to shoot then. It just means if you're trying to dodge based on reaction, you would move immediately when you hear that. And that comes down to the first choice that you make. Is the killer going to hold it, or are they going to shoot it immediately? Again, this is already something that has equal play on both sides. The killer can decide to hold it. The survivor can decide to guess that you're going to hold it, in which case they keep holding forward, and now you're just losing distance, just holding your arm up like a dipshit. At the same time, if one of them guesses wrong and the other guesses right, that person is, going to win. I feel like there is a fairly equal amount of prediction going on from both sides, and that's why it doesn't feel annoying to me. It feels like when I am getting chased by this killer that I am trying, like, constantly making the guess, okay, this time he's going to commit and instantly shoot, so I'm going to instantly dodge. Or this time, I think because I did that last time, now I think he's actually going to do this. Like, it gets into a whole series of, like, reading what the other person is going to do. And of course, a lot of it is guessing, but they're educated guesses based on how the player is playing. And I have no problem with those types of guesses. I think those are fine. Things that are not just complete blind 50-50s are, in my opinion, fine. I actually don't mind those. And even just thematically, when there's explosions popping up everywhere, it reminds me of, like, you know, the end of season 4 where Max is escaping Vecna's whole thing and there's, you know, just explosions and just shit everywhere. It's just, like, thematically feels cool to dodge that shit. And here's the thing. There is a scenario where the power really can't be dodged. And that is if the killer is so perfect that they spawn the circle directly on the exact center of your pill hitbox, pixel perfect. If they do that, it is extremely hard to actually avoid that, even if you're running, like, in a straight line. If you do anything but run directly straight, you'll get hit. If you even shimmy for a half a second, you'll get hit. The thing is, that is really hard to do reliably. It's so hard to do reliably that no one is going to do it reliably other than cheaters. If you had, like, a tool-assisted Vecna, then yes, he would be overpowered as absolute shit, because he would always be able to just spawn it directly on the exact pixel that your pale hitbox is attached, you know, to the back of your spine, basically. And yeah, that will be basically impossible to avoid most of the time. But like I said, people are not robots. They are not consistently doing this. I'm seeing people consistently get hits because they're making the correct predictions and things like that. But the actual direct spawning of it exactly on the right pixel every time, it's just not going to happen. No one is going to be able to consistently do that. I don't care how good you are at the game. It's just impossible to consistently do that because the AoE of error there is so tiny, you basically need to be a computer to consistently do that. Again, don't confuse that with consistently hitting people, because you can still consistently hit people when they're in animation locks or when you correctly guess which they're going to do and stuff like that. I'm talking about those straight up undodgeable hits. Those are going to be so uncommon that I'm just not worried about it. It's not like a nurse scenario where she can blink in your general vicinity and then just lunge and correct for it. This has to be pixel perfect. I can't stress that enough. So that aspect of it, I'm not worried about. So here is the main issue. If there's any takeaway from this video, it is this. I don't want the cooldown of his power nerfed from the survivor side and the killer side. And that's because it is inversely proportional to how boring the killer is going to be to go against. When there's constant explosions going off, you're both constantly making guesses on each other. There's constant player interaction over and over and over every 3 seconds. It's constant. It's kind of overstimulating for some people, but it's a lot of, you know, analyzing what the other player is going to do over and over and over again. If we make the cooldown longer and longer and longer, the longer the cooldown gets, the more risky it is to just shoot off random shots. If it becomes more and more risky to shoot off random shots, what are people going to do? They're not going to shoot off random shots. They're going to wait for more guaranteed shots by holding it until you get into a pallet or a window, or just holding it and zoning you into a corner and then just hitting you. It's the difference between a boring pyramid head that just never actually uses their power. They just put their shit in the ground and walk around and then punch you. And then a pyramid head that does crazy through the wall blind flicks and stuff like that. That's fun to go against. It's the exact same type of scenario here. So if we make it so the cooldown gets worse and worse and worse, people will be less incentivized to go for YOLO shots more and more, which means people are just going to play safer and safer. So not only are a lot of people not even going to play this killer because he's hard to master, frankly, probably hard to play on controller as well, but we're going to have the people that do play this killer, they're going to be relegated to playing in a very boring, safe way, because if you don't play in that way, you are taking huge risks every time you shoot your power and lose a ton of distance. Now you got to wait and wait and wait before you can use it again. That's my problem. I would prefer the spammy nature of it over making it too risky to bother using in an unsafe fashion. That's, I guess, the way I can most succinctly put that issue with it. So people that are asking, you know, like double the cooldown and stuff like that, I genuinely think that would make the killer, ironically, significantly more boring to play against. As long as he is constantly shooting, there's always a back and forth of, are they going to dodge? Are they not going to dodge? And again, unless it's a tool-assisted bot that's hitting the exact center every single time, I do feel like while the killer is certainly stronger than the survivor, no doubt, it's in the killer's favor, it's not so overwhelmingly in the killer's favor that it's unfair. That's why I don't think this killer needs like any changes at all. The killer is mostly completely fine. There's a couple of things like the undergate attack. If you have high ping, the undergate attack is kind of like impossible to avoid, which I think is an issue. And maybe they should make that like client-sided on the survivor side or something like that. Because if someone has really high ping to you just because they just got the wrong server or something like that, you're going to be in the scenario where he can go under the ground kind of ahead of you, but before you have a chance to like react to him turning around, he's already popping up out of the ground, and then you just get hit every time. So I had people that I was going against from Europe, they like could not dodge that. And that I do think needs to be addressed because that's kind of shitty. You don't really want that. But in terms of overall strength, he does still have that main weakness that I talked about in my last video. His main weakness is just holding forward. Like, I just put on Overcome and Self-Care and Botany Knowledge, and I died like once in the entire time I played against Vecna for like 3 or 4 hours. And it's because you make yourself so unappealing to chase because he has no real good traversal that even if you don't dodge and you just get hit and run in a straight line with Overcome, it's not even worth chasing you anymore. They just have to let you go, at which point you reset probably quicker than he'd actually get a damaging health state on you. And then if everyone does that, he just loses. Like, he has very clear weaknesses. I'm not saying it's exciting to run on a straight line. My point is I find him fun even when he is peppering me with explosions every 3 seconds. That's also fun. But his clear weakness is that holding forward. And I think once more people realize how strong it is against him, people are going to go, okay, I see the flaws now. This is not Nurse. This is not Blight. He doesn't have the map control to match, the absolute best of the best killers. He's still very good. He's like an A-tier killer, no doubt. But I do not think this killer is overpowered. I think he is mostly fine exactly how he is. Maybe you can make it so on a successful hit, there's like a second or two more of a cooldown to prevent like double tapping people. But even double tapping shouldn't happen because if you get hit by his power at range, you should be able to hold forward out of his range. Even without Overcome, you still can't get double hit. The only time you can get double hit is if he melees you somehow as a 110 killer, because then you can't get far enough away because then you'll be still in range of his power and he might be able to hit you. He has one chance to hit you before you get out of range. But I would have loved to show you the VOD where I went against the killer. It would be right here, but I fucked up. So you'll just have to take my word for it. There were people watching, ask them. I don't know. I had fun. Unironically, I genuinely enjoy going against this killer. I enjoy playing against him. It's impossible to take an agenda side here because I'm literally saying I enjoy him on both killer and survivor. So checkmate atheist, you can't trap me here. I think he's just overall very fun, and I think he's balanced to where he should be. So maybe my hot take, I don't know. I think he's fine.